In this video, I add information to what you have in the readings about the situation that prompts the letter and slavery in Greco-Roman antiquity. Hello, I'm Jean-Francois Racine, and I sit here in the chair of wisdom to speak about the letter to Philemon. Paul doesn't send letter only to give news. He wants to teach, change situations, explain himself, and obtain things. From this perspective, he's an effective communicator. Instead of calling this letter the letter to Philemon, we could call it Paul's letters of recommendation on Onesimus' behalf. At a certain level, this letter is about the relationship between three people: Paul, Onesimus, and Philemon. At another level, it asks how people from different social situations should relate to one another once Christ becomes part of the equation. Also, don't be fooled by the actual title. The letter to Philemon may sound like a private letter. Still, the mention of Apphia, Archippus, and the church in your house among the addressees shows that it addresses a whole household. When someone reads it aloud, the entire household is aware of what Paul's asking from Philemon may exercise peer pressure, vocal or not, upon Philemon in one direction or another. We, that is you and me, also stand somewhere in the background to judge the situation. People may have read this letter millions of times during the last 2,000 years, but it still puts us before the same questions that Philemon had to face when he heard the letter. What difference does the Christ event make or not to how we relate to each other? Beginning with John Chrysostom, most interpreters have assumed that Onesimus was a runaway slave who had stolen something from his master and had ended up in prison with Paul. This assumption has two significant problems. First, the letter provides no evidence to support the hypothesis that Onesimus was a runaway slave and a thief. Second, as Lewis Brogden has argued, this description conveys a slave owner's perspective who, through the centuries, see slaves as objects that they own who are unauthorized to go anywhere without their command. Also, from that perspective, most slaves are lazy and inclined to steal. The portrayal of Onesimus as a runaway slave who has stolen something from his master perpetuates this stereotype. In the West, John Knox was likely the first to challenge Onesimus' portrayal as a runaway slave with a book published in 1935. More recently, Alan Callahan's 1997 book suggested that Onesimus was Philemon's brother, whom he treated like a slave. While many have contested Knox and Callahan's readings, these two scholars have also uncovered how the letter fails to provide evidence for the dominant scenario. The next section will speak of the resemblances and differences between slavery in Greco-Roman antiquity and the antebellum United States.